What if the greatest hero in Brazilian history wasn't the one who died fighting? What if he was a king who made a deal for peace? And what if the man who became the symbol of unyielding resistance had to kill him to get there? They call Zumbi the great hero of Brazil, but they don't tell you the story of his uncle, the king who came before him. We're going to dive into the story of Ganga Zumba, the first king of Palmares, a kingdom that shouldn't have existed. We'll explore the impossible choice he made and the reason his name, once a symbol of freedom, has been almost entirely overshadowed by the man who succeeded him. In the middle of the 17th century, Portuguese Brazil was a land of sugar, gold, and suffering. But deep in the forests of what is now the state of Alagoas, something extraordinary was happening. A kingdom was rising out of the ashes of slavery. This was the Quilombo dos Palmares, a society of people who had escaped the brutal colonial system and built a new life for themselves. This wasn't a small hideout. At its peak, Palmares was an autonomous confederation of 11 different towns, known as Macambos, with a population that may have reached up to 30,000 people. It was a vibrant society, a true melting pot of people who had found a common enemy in their oppressors. While it was founded by and largely comprised of Africans, it was also a refuge for indigenous peoples, people of mixed African and indigenous descent, caboclos, and even poor or marginalized Portuguese settlers, including those fleeing religious persecution. They were a society of farmers, artisans, and warriors. They lived in wooden huts with palm-thatched roofs, some with hidden exits for a quick escape. Their land was communally owned, with no one person owning the cultivated fields, and they worked for the collective good. They grew manioc, sweet potatoes, bananas, and sugarcane, supplementing their diet with wild fruits and animals. Their blacksmiths forged tools and weapons from hematite found in the soil, and seamstresses spun fibers from palm bark to make clothes. But while they were self-sufficient, they weren't isolated. They cleverly traded with their Portuguese neighbors, exchanging the goods they produced for things they couldn't, like salt and, most importantly, guns and munitions. This created a complex relationship where they relied on the very system they were fighting against to keep their own state-like society alive. At the head of this incredible kingdom was Ganga Zumba. His name was more than just a name, it was a title, Great Lord in the Kimbundu language, fitting for a king who presided over the chief council and led the largest settlement, Cerro dos Macacos. Under his reign, Palmares became a beacon of hope for enslaved people across Brazil, a legendary symbol of freedom that the Portuguese and the Dutch, who also occupied parts of the region, could not tolerate. For decades, Palmares was in a constant state of war, fending off relentless military expeditions. Ganga Zumba's people were masters of defense, using their deep knowledge of the forest to create fortified settlements with wooden fences and watchtowers. They even dug camouflaged pits with sharp spikes to impale their attackers. All of these strategies, including espionage and relocation, allowed them to hold off colonial powers for over 60 years. But even the most resilient leader can be worn down by an unending war. By the late 1670s, the years of conflict had taken a devastating toll. The colonial forces, under the command of militia captain Fernão Carrilho, launched a series of brutal and highly successful campaigns. These weren't just battles, they were a war of attrition that hit Ganga Zumba where it hurt the most. During these attacks, he was wounded, and one of his children was killed in battle, while 2 others were captured and taken prisoner. This was the breaking point. A leader who had fought his entire life was now faced with a stark reality. His family was decimated, his people were exhausted, and the kingdom, while still standing, was bleeding. Driven by a sense of desperation and a desire to secure the future for his people, Ganga Zumba decided to make a deal. He was a pragmatist, a weary king who saw an opportunity for peace where others saw only betrayal. In 1678, he accepted a peace treaty from the Portuguese governor of Pernambuco. The terms were simple, but they carried a heavy price. In exchange for formal recognition of their freedom and land in the Cucao Valley, Ganga Zumba had to agree to 2 things. His people would relocate from their mountain stronghold to a valley closer to the watchful eye of the colonial government, and he would have to return any newly escaped slaves to their masters. While Ganga Zumba saw this as a way to end the bloodshed and guarantee a future for those born free in Palmares, a powerful faction within the community saw it as a path straight back to slavery. The leader of this faction was his nephew and military commander Zumbi. Zumbi was an uncompromising visionary. Unlike his uncle, he believed that freedom could not be negotiated. For him, a deal that left a single person in chains was a betrayal of the entire cause. He argued that there could be no true freedom for the people of Palmares as long as slavery continued to exist anywhere in Brazil. He was reportedly influenced in this stance by his wife, Dandara, a fierce warrior and leader in her own right, who shared his fear that the Portuguese would never honor the treaty and would simply re-enslave them all. This was the Great Divide, the clash of two philosophies that would change the course of history. Ganga Zumba, the tired king, chose a fragile, negotiated peace. Zumbi, the revolutionary, chose total, unyielding resistance. The community split in two. Ganga Zumba, along with several hundred of his followers, went to the Cucao Valley to claim their promised freedom. But Zumbi and the majority faction refused to go, instead taking refuge in a new mountain base. The final act of this tragic drama came in 1680. Ganga Zumba was allegedly poisoned by Zumbi's partisans, a shocking act that sealed the two competing legacies forever. The king who sought peace was removed from power, and the warrior who demanded total freedom became the new king. Under Zumbi's leadership, the resistance intensified. He led Palmares for another 15 years, withstanding 6 military expeditions launched by the Portuguese. But the end was inevitable. The final massive assault came in early 1694, led by the infamous militia commander Domingos Jorge Velho. After a 42-day siege, the central settlement was destroyed. Zumbi managed to escape, but he was betrayed a year later. On November 20th, 1695, the great warrior was captured and publicly beheaded. His head was sent to the capital of Pernambuco and displayed on a pike, not just as a warning, but to crush the belief among his followers that he was immortal. The Portuguese had won the battle, but in a strange way, they had helped Zumbi win the war of ideas. The history of Palmares is a testament to the power of a story. Ganga Zumba's choice, which was once a gamble for survival, is now largely remembered as a failure, a compromise that led to his followers being re-enslaved. His legacy became a cautionary tale, and he is often viewed as a weak accommodationist. Zumbi's defiant death, however, became the ultimate victory. His willingness to fight to the bitter end for a freedom that was absolute is what made him a national hero. His story and his tragic demise became the defining narrative of resistance, the one passed down through generations. Today, November 20th is celebrated in Brazil as Black Consciousness Day, a day to honor Zumbi and the enduring spirit of Palmares. It is a reminder that the kingdom's fight for self-determination and dignity never truly ended. It continues in the struggles and cultural vibrancy of modern Afro-Brazilians, a living link between the past and the present. If you want to uncover more stories like this, click the video on your screen right now.